are less than 4 weeks away from the Showcase of the Immortals, as they like to call it. I guess they call it the granddaddy of them all now that Starrcade's no longer a thing. WrestleMania, heading to Philly, the home of those dastardly Philadelphia Eagles. And they have been, and WWE has certainly turned on the jets as far as the build. And to help me break it all down, joining me in studio, you read his stuff on PWTorch. And it's been wonderful to share some press areas with this man. He is Brian Zilem. Follow him on X at Brian Zilem. Brian, what's up, man?
Stu, thank you for your hospitality and hosting in this lovely studio that you have. Very accommodating. And, to pull back the curtain, I am local, so it was not inconvenient at all to make it down here.
That's true. Yeah, you live just up the road in Round Rock, so that's kind of nice.
Yes.
So, all right, let's go with I guess the big story. Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. They said yes. They have accepted the challenge. They will face Roman Reigns, and they've changed what they call that title at least 2 or 3 times. But it is the other one. Let's just say the other one because it's too long. And The Rock on night 1 of WrestleMania on Saturday, April 6th. And Cody accentuated. Rock made chided about him being a mistake in his family because he's, 20 years younger. Not quite 20 years younger. Dustin's my age, so Cody's almost 20 years younger. Anyway, and then Cody gave him the receipt, slapped the taste out of his mouth. So we know this has been coming. This has been the talk. In fact, going back to that big, that whatever you want to call it, that they did in Las Vegas during Super Bowl week, where they took advantage of the fact that all the media were there for Super Bowl. So, Brian, give me your thoughts on that match. They've got some stipulations to it. Are you okay with seeing the guys basically pulling double duty for that weekend?
To be honest, Stu, I'm a little reprehensive on it. I imagine they're going to smoke and mirror the absolute heck out of the match to protect everybody, but I get a little nervous. The Rock's how old? 54, 53 years old?
He's about my age, too.
I worry about how he's going to look. Now, his aura may just mask that, and if he's only in there for, a hot tag or whatever the case may be, might be okay. But, with Seth coming off his knee injury, he's cleared from everything that we've been told.
He is cleared.
So he's cleared. Apparently he's been wrestling on the road again, which is good for him. And you've got Roman and Cody. For me, I'm a worrier. What happens if Cody or Roman get hurt?
Well, and that's the first thing that hits my mind is, look, you and I have seen enough wrestling. We know when just, the
weird stuff can happen.
Yeah, weird stuff, impromptu, all of a sudden something just doesn't go right. You end up injuring something. I mean, and lump Seth Rollins in, and especially Seth, because, again, yes, he's medically cleared, but he is coming off this knee injury.
Yep.
A knee injury that he has suffered multiple times in his career.
Yeah. I think a couple weeks ago, that Shotzi Blackheart injury, it's kind of spooked me a little bit, where I'm just like, whoa. Because from what I remember, she was just getting off she was climbing onto the apron, and her knee just buckled, right?
Well, we've seen, not to cross the streams, but AEW, Adam Cole making the run down, jumps off the stage, lands on his, lands wrong, and then ends up with a bum ankle.
Oof.
like we said, things can happen. So, I mean, they will take every precaution. As far as The Rock goes, I would suspect that Cody, Roman, and Seth will do the heavy lifting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not say Rock's not fit. Of course, Rock is he's fit, but he hasn't wrestled a match in
a decade,
at least. Yeah. So
yeah, because I don't even count the Rowan match.
No, not the. I don't count that impromptu him and John Cena against the Wyatt family at WrestleMania in Arlington back in 2016. So, yeah, like I agree with you. Look, if they pull it off, great. It'll be a great little, kind of almost a cherry, try to get that story. Hopefully, again, I think just about the entire world expects Cody to finish the story finally.
Let's hope so.
I keep going back. I keep going back to the notion you're not going to have Cody Rhodes win the Rumble back-to-back years and have him lose again.
It'd be very foolish, and I think they'd be doing a disservice to the happy audience that they have right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's an easy way to turn them away. And now they may overlook that because they're hot as ever right now because The Rock is there. They're selling out every Raw, SmackDown, main event,
right.
NXT show that you could think of. So fans may forgive that, but you can't. You can only put the carrot in front of the horse so many times.
True. Well, not to mention, The Rock is there now. The Rock's an actor and one of the most successful actors today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, depending on who you talk to, he's like in the top 3 as far as highly paid actors. So I'm sure he's probably got a film project, waiting for him when he gets finished with this. So he's not going to be around much longer. It would shock me if he's around much after, I would say the week after Mania, he might show up to Raw after Mania. And then I think that might be, and then Brock's off to do whatever film and let's not forget the UFL kicks off the end of the month. And he's got 3 teams in Texas, Arlington, San Antonio,
and Houston?
Is it Houston?
I think so.
Yeah. So, yes, they're hot. WWE's hot. I would say that the Bloodline, while he has gotten an injection with having The Rock involved, I would say still it's time for the Bloodline to either dissolve, take a step back, whatever, whether Roman, steps away for a couple months. He's on a part-time schedule anyway.
Right.
Have him step away for a couple months. It's, the prevailing theory right now is that Tama Tonga, who just finished up with New Japan Pro Wrestling, could be coming to WWE. Have him in as, one of the new Bloodline members.
Mm-hmm.
Could be with his brother Tongaloa. We could see, who knows? Could see the Gorillas of Destiny in WWE.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's time to do something different with those individuals as a whole. I frankly haven't really been invested in the Bloodline as far as an actor or storyline since the Sami Zayn departure. I feel like Sami Zayn does really not get enough credit for keeping that act alive because I covered SmackDown when it was, it was fine, but then it was only really entertaining because Sami would pop up. And that angle, the storyline in the group, it was just rinse and repeat. There was nothing interesting about it. And then the injection of Sammy and his personality and everything he was able to do got that act over as Rover again.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since Sammy and KO won the titles, I know they've done the Jimmy and Jay split, and that was fine, I guess. I mean, I wasn't really impressed with the SummerSlam match. Roman, it was Jimmy, or was it Jay?
Jay. It was Jay.
Jay and Roman had. That was 35 minutes, way too long, and I don't really think there's been any progression, because when Solo came into that group, we assumed about this time he would be wrestling Roman Reigns, and he's kind of been there, existing.
He has, and it's been teased forever that he will split from Roman, and we will eventually see that. It looks like we're getting Jimmy versus Jay at Mania. Jay Uso made the challenge on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. It's time to and look, as far as faction storylines go, Judgment Day is cooking for right now. So I think, like you said, I think it's time to, dissolve the bloodline, have them take a step back, regroup, come back in time for SummerSlam. We'll see. I don't know. Speaking of SummerSlam, by the way, they made the announcement. Logan Paul made it on his podcast. SummerSlam heading to Brown Stadium in Cleveland.
Interesting.
On August 3rd. It's a Sunday. The home of the Cleveland Browns, where it was once said that's where quarterbacks' careers go to die. And I say that, with fond memories of Colt McCoy getting drafted by the Browns. So, Logan Paul has also made a deal, so his Prime energy drink is now the official hydration drink partner of WWE. And in fact, you will see a big, giant Prime bottle center of the mat at upcoming premium live events. This is something that we have not seen in WWE yet.
Right.
Now, we do know, of course, WWE now part of TKO Group, which also has UFC. UFC has sponsors all over their mat. It feels like this could be the start of something like that. What do you think about Prime Energy Drink becoming a part of the mat inside the ring?
Never had a Prime. I think I'm good. Don't need one, to be quite honest. Now, AEW's kind of had the DraftKings, I believe specifically more on the pay-per-views, so it's corporate synergy. It makes absolute sense. Why not? I do wonder specifically, if a wrestler has some type of other endeavor with another product, would WWE be so inclined to listen? Does it make more sense that Logan Paul's already, in bed with UFC and TKO, so it's just like, it's not really even a conflict of interest at all. That's just another huge pile of money I imagine Logan Paul is going to get, because, Stu, apparently the younger kids, they're all about the Prime. They're all about the Prime, from my understanding. They love Prime. I'm good. I've never had one. I don't think I ever need one.
I'm there with you. I don't do energy drinks. I mean, you and I have been around enough wrestlers. They pound them like they're candy. Sammy Guevara, for instance, apparently he you never see him without a bang in his hands. But I just don't. I'll do coffee. I'll do sweet iced tea. That's about as energy drink as I get. So, we also know that and WWE made a point to send a press release about this. Monday Night Raw, March 25th, so 2 weeks from yesterday, will be at the Allstate Arena in Chicago, and the voice of the voiceless will be there. CM Punk will appear. kind of intriguing that WWE felt the need to send a press release to announce that CM Punk would be there. It's Monday Night Raw in Chicago. Who didn't think he would be there? Now we know, well, at least as of now, he is not cleared to be at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna ask: is this to announce that, oh my God, he's made a miraculous recovery and he is going to be at WrestleMania, or is this just to make sure we sell those last few tickets for the Allstate Arena?
Knowing how Phil Brooks' body recovers, he's not a Wolverine. He's not. His body just doesn't do that. I would imagine that's just to get him on the card and to promote. And like you said, WWE normally does not send those press releases just for a normal television show. Now, could this be a way to maybe just present Punk as the guest host for WrestleMania? It seems, if you look at the spectrum of CM Punk, that in a way that to me seems very funny. But I think he still wants to be around, and it would make sense. Maybe perhaps there could be some type of involvement, not physically with the Drew and Seth match. Potentially, maybe he could be the at ringside in some capacity to call the match. I could definitely see that if you want to get him on the card, so that way he gets some side of a WrestleMania pop. It makes sense to me, but yeah, I mean, CM Punk is still a draw in Chicago, apparently.
Yes, that's true. And he does a great job on commentary. So, yeah, I could see him joining, whether it's Michael Cole and Corey Graves or whoever the commentators are for that match. And, of course, in the meantime, at Raw, he joins Cole and Pat McAfee for commentary. And can you imagine CM Punk and Pat McAfee?
Oh, God.
Good Lord.
No.
That could be interesting.
It could be disastrous is what it could be.
You're right. So, let's see. A couple other notes. Did you watch the Oscars?
Most of it, yes.
Okay. So we had quite a loaded WWE presence.
Yes.
You had The Rock, along with Bad Bunny, who presented, and I forget which award it was, but they came out, did their presented an award. Rock looking very spiffy, as was Bad Bunny. And then John Cena. Boy, could we see John Cena.
Yes.
All of John Cena. It was this bit with Jimmy Kimmel. I believe it was costume design. And they're referencing the streaker that appeared, I think it was 50 years ago, when David Niven was up to present an award. Sure enough, here comes John Cena doing I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then he kind of shuffles very meekly to a microphone, and he's holding the envelope in front of his pelvic region. Let's just go with that.
Yes.
The whole bit, and in fact, as they're going to commercial break, you see John Cena walking through the back, sure enough, shaking hands with The Rock. So that was it was cute. It was funny.
Yeah.
John Cena he's got some, comedic timing in him, so that was fun. So, hey, it was good. It was fun. So, let's talk about this. So, we found out on Raw that Finn Balor, Damian Priest of Judgment Day, the current tag champs, they will defend those titles at WrestleMania in a 6-pack ladder match. So 5 other teams, and we will find out who those 5 other teams will be as they qualify over the next few weeks. 5 other teams, along with Balor and Priest, a 6-way ladder match for the tag titles.
I mean, it's a WrestleMania special, is it not?
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember was it 33 in Orlando where you had a 4-way. And that was when Matt and Jeff Hardy, one night after dropping the Ring of Honor tag titles to the Young Bucks in a ladder match at Supercard of Honor, because I was there, turned around and re-debuted for WWE and won the Raw tag team titles.
That was a fun match.
That was a fun match.
Enjoyed that very much.
And then the pop for the Hardys was very loud.
Yes.
So this will be. I think this could be fun.
I kind of envision this is an awesome truth win, is it not? It seems
kind of fitting for that. With everything that R-Truth, the R-Truth took some serious punishment from Damian Priest last night on Raw.
Very scary bump he took on his head.
Yes.
I was surprised no one really followed up with that. I believe Brian Alvarez mentioned that on Wrestling Observer Radio this morning, but that looked really scary.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it does feel like Finn and Damian will drop those titles to somebody at Mania. We just don't know who yet.
Is it a little disappointing on how elevated the tag team titles were just a year ago, and now it's kind of just come back to earth a little bit? It kind of reminds me of the olden days of the IC title flip-flopping every other week, going to Road Dogg, and then one week it would be to Billy Gunn, and then one week it would be D'Lo Brown and Jeff Jarrett. It was just a recycle, and R-Truth is getting a loud reaction. He's moving merch. It's fine, I suppose, but I mean, eventually maybe we could get serious if they want to put the creeds in there, and perhaps, but it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, if R-Truth and Miz do win the titles, I foresee a short run.
I hope so.
We'll see. I mean, it could be a fun match. And who knows? We could be totally wrong, and Finn and Damian come out, retaining the titles. And although this kind of, I'm not saying we should break up the Judgment Day yet, but that certainly has been teased over the last several months, off and on.
Yeah, I kind of worry about this Damian Priest experiment, Stu. I don't really know what's going on with that. I find it, wrestling is silly anyway because there's going to be plot holes. Mm-hmm. You don't want to have to poke at them, but when they hit you over the head, it's really hard to not acknowledge. I don't really know why they never acknowledged Damian Priest trying to cash on Roman Reigns. Just logically, at least entertain the idea for me. Obviously, you would never do it, but at least entertain the idea. And they said, "Oh, well, we can't cash in on Seth because he's not medically clear." So, I have this seeking suspicion in my stomach. He's probably going to end up cashing in the Money in the Bank for the IC title. I think. I just, which is disappointing because if you go back to that show in Puerto Rico, there was so much momentum with Priest. It seemed like they were getting behind him, and then with rebuilding Cody and then Punk. Yeah. It's not his fault. It just sometimes stuff happens. I mean, look at LA Knight. He's kind of just gotten back to a guy. I feel like I hardly see him on SmackDown anymore, which is kind of unfortunate. But I don't know. Because I think he's got until May, I believe, to cash in. But I believe that's probably going to a secondary title, I believe.
I'm holding out hope that he finds a way to cash in on either Seth or Drew. I could see a storyline where that happens. Mm-hmm. They haven't even had Damian. There's been the lingering little, whatever you want to call it, between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. I could see, although I don't know if Triple H would pull this off, have Drew win the title at Mania in a hard fought, Drew just, in a moment catches Seth, pins Seth, wins the title, and then here comes Damian Priest to cash in. I could see that. I just don't know if that's what they will do.
Yeah, I would say in a way, I suppose it might be a good problem to have because I kind of feel like Drew deserves a run at this title, and just because I feel like you need to build this up potentially with Punk when he's ready, it just seems right. And I don't know what his contract status is. It could just be a handshake until they put pen to paper. They do have to consider that. Is getting that meager win for 3 or 4 minutes good enough for him to sign the dotted line? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. Got to look at Drew's contract status. I think he's currently on whatever the extended time for his injury. But as far as I know, he has not signed a new deal yet, has he? So, Sami Zayn wins the gauntlet match. I was a little surprised, I'll be honest. So now he's going to challenge Gunther, at least as of now. He'll challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Do you see the possibility of it becoming a 3-way with Chad Gable?
It would make sense because technically Sammy didn't pin Chad's shoulders, right? It was more just his head and neck based on the pin. So it would make sense. Gunther did have a wonderful 3-way match last WrestleMania with Sheamus and Drew, obviously. Now this will be a different style because you're not getting 3 big men slapping meat, so it'll be a little bit different style. I mean, Gable can get in there and do his crazy suplexes. Sammy's got this crazy energy as well. So in a weird way, it could be potentially a way to protect Gunther. If they were going to take the belt off him, I would rather him just lose on a Shield, clean as a whistle, put whoever he's going to put over. But it's a possibility. With it being a 3-way, I kind of think Gunther's probably going to retain.
And that's kind of I'll say that's one drawback. If it's a 3-way, I could see Gunther retaining, which it's like, okay, what are you going to do now? Whereas if you give Sammy, the title, or Chad Gable for that matter, then you at least, get some new challengers, all that good stuff. But we'll see. We know that Paul Heyman will be going into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. He is now being joined by Bull Nakano, one of the most iconic Japanese women ever to step foot in a ring. The U.S. Express, Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, early back in the birth of Hulkamania. They were the tag team champions under Captain Lou Albano. Of course, this will be the second Hall of Fame ring with Barry Windham. He is already in as a member of the Four Horsemen. And Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all time, going in posthumously. I think they've already announced. It's not Layla Ali, it's somebody else, but it's like another one of his kids or grandkids that will be inducting Muhammad Ali.
Very cool.
Hall of Fame's always a fun ceremony to watch just because you get to hear some of the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I remember when Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda were making the waves as tag champs. In fact, that was probably one of the first duos I remember being WWF tag team champions at the time. Who inducts Barry and Mike? Could it be Bo Dallas?
That'd be a nice touch. I would have thought maybe Bray would have been added as that way you've got the triplets added all in one. but perhaps they want to just do more of a special, just one-off for Bray specifically. But I think either or would be quite fine. But Bo, it seems like he'd be a good choice because I guess he hasn't really popped up since Uncle Howdy.
Yeah, I could see that. Trying to think of, I mean, and we still got, like I said, less than 4 weeks, so we could see Bray Wyatt added to this class. We could, I'll be interested to see who does the inducting for both the U.S. Express as well as Bull Nakano. Mm-hmm. I get that one seems like a Medusa, Lundra Blaze, whatever you want to call her.
I would think so.
That seems like the logical one. They had some battles, and I would suspect, I didn't see them, but I would suspect they battled in Japan as well, mm-hmm. under Stardom or whatever the promotion was at the time. So, but yeah, WWE Hall of Fame that Friday night before WrestleMania. Let's switch gears, talk about AEW. This story, and it was actually PWTorch that broke the story.
Yep, sure was.
And it's kind of ironic because I just had Kevin Kelly on the show to preview Revolution, and now Kevin Kelly apparently has been fired.
Yes.
So apparently there was some... I tell you what, you're with Pro Wrestling Torch. You give the story as best as you know.
It was really odd because Kevin Kelly went on social media and it, for all intents and purposes, feels like he had some beef with Ian Riccaboni, which to me never met the gentleman, but seems like one of the sweetest dudes in the industry. Very nice. He is. Seems very nice. And I don't understand why Kevin would release his grievances on air like he did. It's a little odd, and what I gathered was how he handled that, I think, was obviously bad, but also if you look at it, I think AEW as a whole saw, like, hey, this is Ian Riccaboni. Like, this isn't just a guy off the street. Like, what are we doing? So I feel like octably Kevin tweeting out his business was bad, but then I think they also took in consideration, hey, we got to step in here. It just, something wasn't working, and it was a shame because I really liked Kevin Kelly when he was first hired. I was really jazzed for it, but I just watching, it seemed Ian and Nigel had really good chemistry. Go back to those early matches in Collision. It was FTR and Juice and Jay White. Fantastic. Ian was great on those calls. And, it's unfortunate. Because I believe from what I understand, him and Tony Schiavone are really good friends. And
yes.
Tony, from what I gather, was a really big advocate for Kevin Kelly getting the job with AEW. And,
right.
I probably didn't do the story as justice, but that was just my kind of gist of everything.
That's the way I understand it. Now, look, I know Ian, I know Kevin. I count them as friends. I've hung out with them. I've talked to them multiple occasions. I know Kevin was, if memory serves me right, he wanted to step away from the New Japan duties because, flying back and forth to Japan, that it takes a toll, and he wanted to be home, or, he's in my age range, 50s, whatever, and he was given this opportunity. Now, way I remember it is that he was going to be the lead for Collision with Nigel. which made total sense. They worked together in Ring of Honor. Why not? Made total sense. Then they decided to bring Tony Schiavone in and make it a 3-man booth, which I thought was an interesting choice, and I love Tony Schiavone to death. I think he is one of the best voices out there. Then again, I think Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly is one of my favorite commentators.
Kevin Kelly was one of the reasons I started watching New Japan, consistently.
Yeah.
Just I heard the voice, and as silly as it sounds, you hear that familiar voice from yesteryear, and it kind of gives you the wrestling warm and fuzzies too.
Yes, you're right, and it did. And it's kind of ironic because Ian. So when Kevin Kelly left Ring of Honor for New Japan, he basically handed the Ring of Honor announcing duties to Ian Riccaboni. And in fact, they did a few cards together. But this is back 2017, I think. So the fact, the notion that they have this dust up over, I don't know what. I've seen a couple of nods towards some interesting political choices, and I'm not going to go into that.
Nope.
But it's the notion that this was over some sort of beef he has with Ian now. And look, what you said, like I said, I know Ian. Ian is one of the nicest guys. If he's able, he always gives you the time of day. He's been on this show multiple times. So I hate to see it because, like I said, I like Kevin. I think he's a fantastic announcer. I just hope he's able to land on his feet wherever he is. And in a spot that will serve him well.
Do you think maybe, I don't want to say they're using this situation as kind of just an example going forward, but there's been several instances in the past where, things have been exchanged on social media. There's been dust-ups in the locker room with the new regime, new executives hired. You've got, the disciplinary committee headed by Brian Danielson and others, attorneys potentially. Were they trying to kind of draw the line in the sand and say, you know what, we got to make an example. We have to show we're adults here. If you've got problems, talk about it. Don't do that on social media where everybody can take screenshots and talk about it, because we don't want to talk about Kevin Kelly losing his job. But I just wonder if, the new blood in charge with the new CEOs coming in, are they trying to set a precedent on, hey, you know what, if people want to take us seriously, if there is something that happens that makes us look bad, we have to handle it accordingly? Because I believe, I'm trying to think, is this the first time AEW's actually publicly fired anybody?
Well, see, that's the thing. They never really announced. They've never announced it.
Right.
They did take them off the roster page on AllEliteWrestling.com. But they've never said anything that Kevin Kelly is no longer with the company.
No press release.
Right. Are they basically using Kevin Kelly, making him an example? I hate to say it, but it's not outside the realm of possibility,
Yeah.
They've had some problems with social media postings and such, so I don't know. We'll see. AEW found its way to South by Southwest.
They did.
They had a panel. You were there.
I was.
It was Tony Khan, Britt Baker,
and Danielson.
And Brian Danielson and Justin Barrasso from Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, MC.
Was the moderator.
Mm-hmm.
Loved Justin. I just had Justin a few weeks ago on the show. You were there. Give me your in-person perspective of that panel.
Justin did a good job. He kind of just went over the generic bullet points of AEW. Some stuff you've heard Tony go over before, the history, him having the notebook of AEW Dynamite, Britt kind of going over her fun weekend with Zach Bryan. A couple of interesting things with it being St. Patrick's Day, and it's almost about the 3-year anniversary of the Lights Out match with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. That was actually brought up quite a bit. I was really surprised about that. Britt actually put over Jerry Lynn because Jerry was the coach of that match, and Paul Turner because, obviously this for AEW as a company, quite frankly, even in women's wrestling, you didn't really see a lot of that. Maybe occasionally some one-offs and Impact for the women. My women Impact knowledge is not too deep, but maybe they would have had something a little graphic. But generally, that you never really saw anything like that. And it was interesting because Justin Brossos had asked, Brian Danielson about working with Vince, because when he was still with WWE, he was part of the creative team, and he was obviously extensively watching AEW, trying to learn and what they're doing, what they could be doing. Mm-hmm. And apparently the Britt and Thunder Rosa match was a hot topic where he had said, I guess, a lot of people just felt like, oh, this, you can't do that, kind of just the normal kind of backstage hoopla you would hear about AEW being too bloody or gory. And I did find it interesting. Danielson brought up the topic, well, if we're talking about equal rights, why can't these talented young ladies do what we're doing? And I thought that was really nice and insightful of him in general. And what else? Was there anything else that really caught my eye? And they, I would say Tony obviously promoted AEW Dynasty. Justin did ask Britt potentially about the subject matter of maybe a certain talent debuting tomorrow in Boston, about a future, meet up with her. And she's, definitely very, very open to it. Tony obviously didn't give a time stamp of when Britt is coming back in ring, but he did mention that she was obviously coming back from injury, and good for her, because a lot of people, I guess have kind of MJF syndrome with Britt Baker, if that makes any sense, where they just they felt, oh well, Britt's all on the time, she's not that good, kind of thing. And it's just like, you see, I think you have an eye, more perceptive eye for wrestling, because you're calling stuff all the mm-hmm. time. But if I can see, just watching from my couch, and I say, you can tell this young lady's just banged up, and she's still going out there with a broken wrist, several broken noses, a really messed up back. That's kudos for her for able to do that, because she, for all intents and purposes, kind of had to, because there, at the time, there wasn't really anybody else in the division that was ready. Obviously Thunder came in there, and they were obviously trying to rotate Cargill, and Stat was coming in and out of really bad leg and knee injuries. So I'm really looking forward to her coming back whenever she's ready. I hope she comes back kind of in that mode where she was busting Tony Schiavone's balls about working at Starbucks. They did go into that a little bit as well, but I just it was refreshing to see her speak. She looks in great shape, and hopefully sooner or later we'll see her down the road. I don't think we see her at Big Business tomorrow, Stu. My intuition is, I'm hopeful. I know I might be jumping ahead here in the run sheet, but I'm hoping if we see a Mercedes Moné tomorrow at Big Business, it's an open challenge. First, that was Serena Deeb has teased how she's open and welcome to challenging any current and non-current wrestlers. So I don't really need a CM Punk, I guess, dialogue, 20-minute promo from her. I kind of want to see her more in the ring. she'll be able to cut interesting promos down the road. I kind of want to just really see. I miss seeing her. She's a big deal, and her potentially wrestling in AEW consistently is a big deal, and I'm looking forward to seeing her.
Yeah, I get it. Let's see. This last week, Dynamite. They debuted a new look, new stage, new logo. Do you like the return of the tunnels?
I do. I guess again, wrestling warm and fuzzies, just because, because it's WWE. They've got just the big Titantron, just platform, and it's just that's not fun. You like the tunnels. It gives it a different vibe. It's their vibe, and it's all about restoring the feelings too, as they've been hammering.
Kind of breaks up that whole
LA
thing. So, we also saw the debut of multiple-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion, the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. He comes down, low blows Eddie Kingston, and it is announced that he is now a part of the Elite after Matthew and Nicholas suspend Hangman Adam Page and fire Kenny Omega from the Elite. They have welcomed Okada into the Elite. I think it caught a lot of people off guard that Okada would debut as a heel, but it certainly presents a lot of different options now, doesn't it?
That was my first view, and apparently, I think it was the Wrestling Observer was one outlet that reported apparently this was kind of always the plan, that they had been talking about this potentially for a while now. And, I like to not know, and I didn't really see anybody throwing that out there as a possibility. And if you're going to do something different in terms of, I guess, borrowing from WWE in a way, I like to use Mariah May as an example, because a lot of people, maybe we're just in a bubble, always complain, I've never seen this person wrestle, like, who are they, what do they do, so in a way I appreciate them thinking outside the box and doing something different, because although Okada's been on AEW television before, and that people should know him, but just the fact that they're giving him something different, they're giving him more of a personality, a character to get behind for those who kind of don't want just the Dream Factory. That's my jam. I'm completely fine with that. Looking forward to Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay in Dynasty here in a couple weeks. But I admire the if this was a pivot, just due to Omega's health, and hope he, wishing him well when he's getting back. But like you had said, Stu, not only did it throw you off, the possibilities this gives you potentially, if you plot it out right, a year of matches that you could look forward to. And God willing, if Kenny Omega is healthy, you get Okada 5 at Wembley. I'm hoping that would be amazing. You get Okada involved in kind of a big time program, and you don't have to immediately strap him and put him in the main event scene. And I thought that was also very, very thoughtful, because I saw a lot of people complaining, AEW's bringing in all these guys, they can't push everybody. Well, you're right, but if you have them in the right situation, the right program, around the right people, you can. And if potentially Okada, meets up with Kingston and carries around all three of those titles, and he wants to pop up in, New Japan whenever he's wanting to, that I'm sure he wouldn't mind that at all. Although reports say he's moving to the United States at some point. Don't know when, and if you've got the breakaway from the Elite at some point, you could definitely do different variances. You can have potentially Omega and Hangman team up if they come back together in a tag team versus the Bucks, or versus Okada and another. It's really good stuff. And eventually, once they do break off, Okada can be a singles guy, and it'll be seamlessly. And a lot of people, from what I saw, I know everybody's curates their timeline differently. A lot of people really enjoyed the kind of heel version of Okada back in the day in New Japan. So I did not see one negative thing about that entire segment.
Yeah, I agree. We also saw the Bastard Pac make his return at Collision. We went face to face with Okada. So there you mentioned all the options. It looks like that's going to be the first one right off the bat.
Okay with that.
Yeah, we talked about people working injured, working hurt, all that good stuff, and Pac has definitely had his share of maladies over the last few years. I mean, you hope that this will be the start of a new and very lengthy run.
Hope so.
I guess we could possibly see that at Dynasty. Okada versus Pac. That would be fun.
Don't hate that. So do you think they're going to do Eddie and Okada at Supercard then?
I don't know if they use Okada for Supercard of Honor.
I only ask just because selfishly I'm going to go to the show and I wouldn't hate not seeing Okada.
If I was in Philly, I'd be at that show too. I always go to Supercard of Honor. They're always some of the best shows on that weekend. It kills me that I have to miss it. So yeah, I guess they could. Nothing says they couldn't. I don't know. That would definitely be a headliner for sure. Okada versus Kingston for the Ring of Honor World Title. Which and that's the other thing. And I forget who it was that asked Tony Khan about this at the Revolution post-event press conference about Kingston being at Supercard of Honor. It was never made clear whether he will defend the Ring of Honor World Title or if he will defend all three, which
interesting.
I would suspect that he can book obviously the Continental Crown title and the Ring of Honor World title however he sees fit. The New Japan Strong title, however, is a New Japan title.
Right.
Which he does not, he's not an owner. So I would suspect he has to have some sort of guidance. Or he could just, have him defend it separate. Let's defend the ROH title separately. Which I think that almost makes it a little more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We mentioned big business tomorrow night at TD Garden in Boston. Besides the worst kept secret about a certain boss that could be debuting tomorrow night, Samoa Joe will defend the AEW World Title against Wardlow, which it feels like they're pulling the trigger on this one really quick.
Yeah, and I'm selfishly as a fan, I'm kind of a little disappointed that they would put Wardlow in this match so fast because the last couple times he's gotten on the microphone, I've really enjoyed what he's had, and I've been looking to rebuy some Wardlow stock. Yeah. Just because, not that he's been bad, it just, he's kind of just been there, and they've tried to kind of shuffle him around and find him his own group person, and I think maybe the problem is he should have just really been by himself, But again, experience creates personality, creates wisdom. Mm-hmm. So maybe he had to kind of go through everything to find his own voice and his way, because, you hear what he says, he kind of has that kind of Drew McIntyre cadence about him where he's not wrong. He's really not anything wrong in he says. So I expect this match to probably, I'm hoping this is the best of the trilogy between him and Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember really, they're not memorable to me. I feel like I can. I love Samoa Joe, but I couldn't remember like any of their matches, to be quite honest. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they got. I think you could probably keep this a nice and tight 8 to 10 minutes.
Yes.
Wardlow does not need to be going, the Ospreay marathon of 20 minutes. Keep this a nice tight 8 to 10 minutes. Hopefully this is on the back end where maybe you don't get a lot of commercial breaks, and I'll be interested to see. But I presume, I'll ask you, Samoa Joe retains, and then we get some set up to Dynasty with Joe and Swerve, do we not?
I would think so. That seems to be the path they're going to go. There's a little bit part of me that says save Swerve versus Joe for Double or Nothing, but at the same time,
Dynasty, that's kind of just in my brain where obviously it's just a word phrase that they're naming the pay-per-view, but not having Dynasty align with Swerve being the first official black male AEW men's champion or world champion. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very fitting.
It does seem fitting. What's kind of it's hilarious that I actually look, we all know the internet wrestling community is they're great, but at the same time they can be wacky sometimes. I actually saw something about he named it Dynasty because that was the faction that MJF had in Major League Wrestling with Richard Holiday and Alexander Hammerstone.
Interesting.
And that we would see the return of MJF. And I guess it's possible that MJF might return. We'll see. But kind of drawing that out, Hammerstone signed to TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Holiday, I believe, is at least right now still signed with Major League Wrestling. He's with that World Titan Federation faction.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see MJF showing up, but probably not with his Dynasty mates in tow, unless he has a couple new guys. I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of Dynasty, coming up on April 21st in St. Louis, I know my friend Joe Roderick will be chomping at the bit to be at that one. We do know it is the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, and Will Ospreay. They made that match official. How long do you give that match on a pay-per-view? Knowing AEW pay-per-views, Tony likes to give a lot of time to matches.
Mm-hmm.
And this match is, for all intents and purposes, kind of a dream match. Yes, it's happened a couple times before, but it's one of those matches I think a lot of people wouldn't mind seeing at least 10 more times. So having it at Dynasty, I could see this thing going half an hour easily.
Yeah, I would set if it goes under 25 minutes, I'd be kind of surprised. But when you're that good, it's magic because a blink of an eye. I always like to harken back to the first, I guess this was the second, this was the second ever Winners Coming, but the first with back in touring, where it was Danielson and Hangman, the hour draw. Took the wife, and she doesn't remember a lot of wrestling, but she'll remember that. And she still says, how was that an hour? Because it didn't, obviously we're not watching live, we're just soaking it all in. For something that went an hour, felt like 22 minutes.
Yeah.
So it just, when you're that good, and I guess to harken back to something Danielson said on the South by Southwest panel, he said the challenge today is you're trying to fight addiction and attention spans for fans.
Yeah.
So he has a way to capture your attention, and obviously Will Ospreay does as well. And I appreciate Tony's. Tony, when AEW first started, was a lot more patient and drawn out, very plotting, kind of like how Triple H is right now. Triple H right now, when he's booking, he's a plotter.
He is.
He's a plotter, teaser. Now, well, whether he'll harken back to something or not, that's probably, he just likes to have stuff out there, either just if he can go back for it. Things have changed now. People have gotten injured. We didn't get to see dream matches versus, the Punk and Kenny and the Bucks. We didn't get to see a lot of that. And, Moxley and everybody, has had their share of injuries. So I think, especially with Danielson about to retire, I think Tony's perhaps changed his mindset a little bit on, what, we got to stop pussyfooting around a little bit. We got to give the people what they want. Mm-hmm. And I mean, my God, if this isn't a main event for a pay-per-view match, or a pay-per-view itself, I don't know what is. And I believe, I haven't checked, but I think they've already got a good pre-sale for this brick hard.
I want to say, I think I saw
close to 5.
I want to say that, yeah, it's set. Yeah, I think it's going to be set up. The what is it called? The Chaffetz Arena in St. Louis. I think they're set up for 5,000 or 6,000, and they've got at least 4.5 already, and probably close to 5. So yeah,
with one match announced.
Yeah, one match. Yeah. So, like I said, yeah, they have a way of making a long match not feel as long. So, before I let you go, something that just came to mind. Did you notice on Monday Night Raw, in the latest chapter of it's a new day, shout out to the New Day, it's a new day in WWE, not only did we acknowledge Chris Jericho as a former Intercontinental Champion, who is a current AEW star, we also showed off a picture of Rhea Ripley at the last UFC event with her fiance, I guess?
Fiance, I believe, yes.
Current AEW star Buddy Matthews. Like I said, I think this feels like the latest of, look, Triple H realizes it's a wrestling company. There's wrestling companies out there. We've heard among commentary reference the independent scene and Japan. And, I think I heard Michael Cole mention CMLL. Mm-hmm. Kind of a new day, isn't it?
Yes or no, because if you do, it's funny. I don't know if this is an open gag, but when McAfee asked Cole about, who is that? And don't even look at that. So,
right.
But they at least have been openly, mindful of, hey, we have to they're at least giving a little bit more credibility to the audience on, hey, we're not the only dog and pony show out here, so there is other companies that exist. So
we might be the biggest, but we're not the only.
Yes, not the only one. So it's funny because I even when they acknowledged Sting's last match the week prior, the week before, which is funny because then Cole kind of did the similar thing. Right. He's like, no, it wasn't on TV. Don't buy the pay-per-view.
Saying it was an epic match, which it was. I was there. I can tell you it was an epic match. But you're right. But still, something that would never have happened under Vince's.
Oh, God, no. No. You would have gotten peltered. You would have gotten stooge, shamed publicly in a segment with all of his might.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, so I like it. I tip my cap to Triple H for letting his commentators do what they do. That's all you ever can ask for. So he is Brian Zilem. Catch his stuff. PWTorch.com, Pro Wrestling Torch. Follow him on X at Brian Zilem. Brian, I appreciate it, man. All the best to you. We'll do this again very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stu. It was a great time. Great chatting with you, and hopefully we provided some good chatter for your wonderful audience. Because follow the Stu's podcast, subscribe, comment, 5 stars, and we've got this on YouTube as well.
It'll be on YouTube as well.
Subscribe to Stu's channel. Give him a like. Let's pump those numbers up.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian.